Alright guys, what's up and welcome back for the Diablo 3 how-to guide. This one's going to be going over kind of, Greater Rift tips or Greater Rift solo pushing. And just kind of things that, that I like to share with like how to make things a little bit easier. Now, this is going to be going over more like kind of the fishing side of Greater Rifts. I don't necessarily personally fish myself. I like getting my characters geared to the point where they can kind of do whatever, on that tier. But I'm going to kind of help you with, deciding which mob types to kind of look for in rifts that you want to run, or like, tile sets, or just, I don't know, just kind of help you be more efficient with your GR runs, right? So really, the first thing to really note here is that open area rifts are always going to be better. So, and to back up a little bit further than that, when I say fishing, what I mean by that is when people are trying to push to a higher end GR. Let's say you're farming 90s, right? And you want to try to get to like that 91 or that 92. What you're going to do is you're going to you're going to go out and you're going to farm like maybe like 20 to, or 30 to 100 or so, keystones, and you're going to just go here and just open up Greater Rifts until you find something that's, a good mob configuration or a good tile set that allows you to complete that better. Because there are times when you can be a powerful, your build is powerful enough to do a GR90, but then your mob configuration and your tile set can be so bad, you could actually be close to like doing really horribly and probably not complete that rift at all, especially in higher end rifts that you're, really pushing. And I'll show you kind of like how it's done. So let's say this is my seasonal character. I don't have a whole lot of keys. I have 10 keys, so I'll burn a few for this video. It's fine. So what normally people will do is they'll go in here, they'll select whatever. Let's say they're just trying to get like a GR60 going. Actually, we're just going to go down. We're going to go down to Torment 10. Fine. So if they get in here, they're going to go into a Greater Rift. They're going to look at stuff around. Now this tile set, we might go through a little bit of tile set, evaluation here. This tile set, my main problem with this tile set is it's really, really easy to get stuck, right? Especially with Demon Hunter Vault. Is really hard to get around. If you're running teleport or like dashing strike, you do have the advantage of jumping these gaps and stuff like that. But with just the way that this level is designed, if you're trying to go fast, you could get stuck on rocks, or just there's not really a smooth traverse through here. And this area is actually just known. This tile set is known for having a lot of dead ends and kind of like loop arounds, which can kind of be a a time sink, because what you'll do is as you start running more Greater Rifts and stuff, you'll notice tiles, and this is comes in apparent when you're like memorizing where pylons spawn, because most of the time pylons will spawn on the same type of tile. But tile sets like this are very, very hard to identify, even if you've been playing for a long time. So it's gonna go in fine. It's the second level, but like if you're fishing, right, if you don't like this tile set when you first go in, then all you're going to do is just going to go back to town and then hit leave game and then go load the game back up and go straight back into another rift until you get something that you like. The reason why you want to be on open-ended maps is because this is pretty much linear, because you're going to go from one platform to another and just kind of kill whatever you touch. And mobs are going to be coming at you from two different directions, either behind you or in front of you. In an open-ended map, they're going to be coming at you from every angle, and it allows you to actually traverse, in more of a, efficient pattern to go through it. You can 100% clear a GR, even a normal rift, on a really good open map, because there's going to be huge amounts of density, and you're just going to have the mobility. Alright, so this is like a Silver Spire tile set. I actually do like these, because, especially if you have zombies. Zombies are usually a slow-moving, a mob, but they're really good for like Demon Hunters, a multi-shot, and stuff like that. But this does have open areas in it, and even like places like this, these can be kind of misnomers sometimes. Like this can sometimes be just a dead end, or also sometimes because it could be just like the way down. So those are actually one of my few favorites. Alright, so this is a cave level. Caves are just notoriously bad, right? Not only are they just chock full of like dead ends and just really low density, but these holes in the ground too, those can actually slow you down if you're playing anything like Dash and Strike, or Blood Rush, or anything that any movement skill that can actually get trapped with stuff like that. But we're gonna try to go through this. Even after we kill the Rift Guardian, we might actually explore a little bit more, so I can kind of give you some more ideas. And about Tilesets really, and then I'll go over mobs and all that stuff to kind of look for as well. Usually, and I'll give you kind of a spoiler here because this is going to be a pain in the ass to find the next level, but the bigger the mob generally, the more progression it's going to be worth. And I'll show you the actual list, the broken down list. But I want to just show you more Tilesets. It's kind of the purpose of this is to like kind of because you can't fish unless you know what you're looking for. And as you get more experience with Greater Rifts and all that stuff like that, then you'll be able to know what you prefer for your build. But generally speaking, across all classes and all builds, open area, kill big mobs, anything that's slow move. If you're playing a build that requires a lot of kiting, probably stay away from like zombies or anything that's slow. If you're playing like Demon Hunter multi-shot, right, then you don't really care. I mean, you still want open areas too, because you can just run out in the middle of an open area with multi-shot and shoot in every direction and just kill absolutely everything. You can 100% clear that really fast. And this is also, you know, the same thing like when you're doing like any of the journey requirements that make you do like Torment 13 rifts in a certain amount of time, or Greater Rifts in a certain amount of time, you're doing the same thing there. Is you're going to be looking for open rifts with a lot of density that you can complete really, really quick. And it's the same thing if you're pushing for, you know, leaderboard and GRs as well. So it's okay. So here's the exit now. This battlefield. This is a battlefield tile set. This is usually really nice because the density is usually really good. There's two different versions here. You can even have the open level version, or there's the one that's like the square, right, with two exits on either side. So that's gonna be the exit down there. See, or it's actually might be up here too. There's usually like either a horseshoe shape or like a square shape. There we go. Yeah, so these are pretty linear, but a lot of density. So I do like these tile sets. Just keep going. See, all right, this is Halls of Agony. Halls of Agony is pretty good too. Good density, good pylon placement as well. Kind of predictable there, and usually spawns big mobs. So I don't mind this. We'll see if there's actually a sixth floor so we can get more value out of here. Oh, no. Alright, so here's the next level, 6th level. Alright, this is going to be... What tile set is this? This is actually Act 2. I think this is Temple of the Firstborn. Yeah. I don't necessarily like Temple of the Firstborn. It does have good density, but it also has a lot of dead ends. And sometimes you can actually find them in just there, or just like in a straight line, which is okay if you have, you know, if you're speeding through it. But most of the time, density is kind of, you know, it's okay if you have certain mob types, but sometimes it's like 2 or 3 guys here, 2 or 3 guys there. Is there anything for like Condemned or something? It can be kind of annoying. But anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through each act, and I'm going to go to my preferred tile set to kind of look out for and tell you why I like them, or, you know, if I land on a tile set that I don't like. Let's see. What some people will actually, you know, say that the core of a ret, or like, you know, anything in that tile set is good. Density wise, yes. And I'll show you what tile set I'm talking about. This tile set here. A lot of people will say that this is a preferred tile set for Greater Rifts. For density, yes. But the problem is with this tile set, tons of dead ends. It's very misleading as far as that goes. So I usually try. I don't fish, but if I was, I'd be kind of avoiding the core of a ret kind of situation. As far as, you know, keep depths, you know, these can be both high density but also be very dead end oriented, you know, but there's also a lot better chance. I have a lot of, you know, champion elite spawns in places that are on keep depths tile set. So I'd say they're kind of middle of the road. I mean, it's probably not a deal breaker if I walk into it level 1, but you can definitely, you know, waste a lot of time just going around in circles. So if you absolutely want to go as efficient as possible, if it's keep depths level 1, just, you know, stay away from it. Alright, let's go down here to this waypoint so I don't have to actually wait for the progress bar. What else we got here? Tower of the Curse is okay. They're short levels usually. Same with Rikus Crossing. They're usually like really linear, medium density. These, the bridge and the Fields of Slaughter. Fields of Slaughter is usually a good open area tile set, or any of this like ice tile set. Same with like Stonefort, any sort of like, you know, fortress, or the Bastion's Keep fortress tile sets. They're mostly linear for the most part. They're not going to double back a lot, and the density is okay, but it's probably not the most high-end efficient. What else we got here? Ruins of Cetron's good, not necessarily open-ended. So let's go here. Basically for Act 1, you want to, and you can go through the game yourself as I'm going through this. Looking for Weeping Hollow Tileset is really good for open-ended. We already went the Fields of Misery as well, and Southern and Northern Highlands. Any sort of tileset there is absolutely great. As far as Act 2, Dangler Oasis has a good. That tileset's usually pretty good for being open area. Same with any of the archives resulting cool. Get on my nerves so much. If you have like teleport or something that can go across gaps, you're good. But those are just generally not something I'm looking forward to. I already said Battlefield's tileset is really good for GRs, high density, and all that good stuff. Anything with like West Marsh Commons is absolutely a time sink because they can be really, really long, linear with low density and lots of dead ends. There's another tileset too that had a lot of dead ends as well. I already went over that one. The Corva Red, tons of dead ends. Also, anything that's around the ruins of Carvis or anything that's around Adria's kind of situation is the doors are probably the biggest enemy you have because it's just going to slow you down even more. As far as Act 4 goes, Gardens is okay, medium density. Silver Spire are really, really good. And then I don't think Realms of Unbinding are actually in GRs. I haven't seen them, but you know, I probably wouldn't recommend it either. But that's kind of just going over the tile sets for GRs to look for. As far as mob density, actually, let's go over like the shrine pylon kind of situation. So in Greater Rifts, there's only ever one of each pylon type, right? You're never going to get two channeled, or you're never going to get two powered. There's always going to be one of each. So it's a good once if you can keep track of which ones you've picked up while you're going through a rift, it can help you make decisions on maybe positioning yourself to where you can get a bunch of density up, and you know that let's say you've gotten every single pylon in that run so far except for Conduit. If that was me and I knew that the next one that I was about to find was Conduit, I'd start just like piling up a bunch of mobs just so when I actually get Conduit, I can just kind of lay them all out. Now, as far as like pushing goes, right? You're trying to like get from point A to point B when you're solo pushing. You never want to stop moving necessarily. Don't worry about fight things in density, especially if you're playing a build like Condemned where you are completely going after trash. Even in Demon Hunters that go after elites, you want to just try to you want to see as much of the density as possible. You never want to stop moving. When you start getting into higher end GRs where it's like 95 or 100 and you're not doing a whole lot of damage in an amount of time, instead of standing in one area in that rift, just kind of like kite those guys through the rift with you, because they'll follow you. Unless they're stupid slow like zombies, you'll probably lose a little bit of them. Champion elites will follow you though. You keep taking those champion elites from one pack of trash to another, as long as you're not stacking up too many, that you start just having like a fix overload, those champion elites are going to start dying from just collateral damage anyway. Same thing with trash as well if you're an elite hunter. With that being said, just like never stop moving while you're going through a rift. When I was doing in season 13, when I was going through, I did 102. Whenever I actually finished 102 on the Demon Hunter, I usually on rifts I would just sit there with the impale. I would just go up to a champion or elite pack and I would just take them down and then go to the next one, right? But when I was doing 102, I would sit there, gather guys up, do as much damage as I could, maybe get a couple of the guys down from the pack. Once the density from trash started to dwindle, I started to pull that elite pack and just gather up a little bit more density around it and just keep moving. And every time I got into a spot where I was like, man, I've been standing still too long, because the thing about it is, let's say if you spend a whole lot of time on a big density of mobs and you're not moving, if those mobs don't give you enough progress when they do die, you've lost so much time, because now you still have this distance to cover from like where you are to the technical end of the rift, right? But technically the end of the rift is when you get to the Rift Guardian and kill him, but there are times if you go too fast through a rift, you can actually hit the end pylon and not have spawned the Rift Guardian yet, then you have to backtrack. That's why you want to kind of go be like slow, methodical. It's like slow and steady wins the race for the most part. But as long as you're like kiting guys and grouping guys and just continually moving through the rift, you should be fine. Also, with that being said, if you're doing good on time and you notice that you might need more survivability, or if you need to tweak a little bit, you can tweak Paragon in here in a Greater Rift. You can actually reallocate points while in a Greater Rift. Usually I don't waste the time to like reallocate unless you get really fast at it. Obviously you can hold that control and throw in. So like right now I have everything in, you know, strength and movement speed, but like if you hold shift, you can put 10 in at a time, right? But if you hold down control, you can just put a max, like I think it's like 100 or so. So if you get really good at those like shortcuts, then you can, you know, if you have to adjust anything in rifts. But if you're pushing, if your intent, because this guide, this what I'm talking about right now is all about, you know, solo GR pushing. I wouldn't mess with anything with Paragon really, unless you're really having a problem, right? And also in like higher end GRs, if you get to the point where you're doing, I've had this happen to me before too, where I'm really good on time, but my survivability might be really low for that tier, and I start, you know, dying a lot, and I actually need to repair. A good thing to do is to try to get yourself to a safe spot, where there be the entrance or door to one level to the other, to where you can very quickly go out here. That's why we actually, you know, if you're pushing, we go to Metatown. We go, well, that's what they call it. We go to Act 1, New Tristram, because it's more efficient than any other home, you know, in any other act, because there's shorter distance from where the portal spawns to the blacksmith for repairs. There's also a short distance between Kadala and, you know, it just makes more sense. No matter what you're doing in adventure mode, being in New Tristram is the best place to be. And when it comes to repairing, if you have to pop out of that greater rift and actually go to the blacksmith, you're going to have a lot easier time getting back in as soon as possible. All right, so that was like kind of like a little bit insight on like what Tilesets to look for, you know, and kind of like Paragon, you know, reallocation, or like in, you know, pylons and all that good stuff, and just kind of kiting and moving. We're gonna go over like the last little bit to kind of look out for, which is like, you know, monster, you know, farming, or like trying to figure out what monster types are better, right? So what you can do is you go to Warpath here, just warpath.eu. It shows you everything that can potentially spawn in a greater rift, and you can sort it by progression points, right? And so obviously the highest on the list, 7.5, is the progression orb. But as you'll notice, all of these mobs that are on the top of this list are usually the bigger ones, right? And as you start going down, you see, you start kind of, they start getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Let's go all the way to the bottom. You know, some of the static mobs, the small spiders. So when knowing that, you can go here as well and just kind of look up and all that good stuff. You can go progress in percentages, like 1.15% if you pick up a progress orb, and, you know, all that good stuff. But knowing this, and when you're fishing for a rift, you go into a rift, and you're like, oh, that's a good tile set. You go a little bit into, you're like, what kind of mob types in here? You start seeing executioner, mallet lords, and stuff like that, and your class or your build is good about taking these guys down, then chances are you're gonna have a really good run, as long as you don't get like a fix screwed, right? Because I guess you could say bigger is better when it comes to mob selection in greater rifts. So if you can get an open area with big mobs, like mallet lords or whatever, you're going to do really well. Another thing I'll go over to, and you'll probably notice it yourself if you run a lot of normal rifts or even greater rifts, usually when you go into a greater rift, there will be one common affix across every single champion or elite. For me, my luck is horrible. I usually get stuck with Molten, right? And you can usually tell pretty soon into a rift, probably before you get through the first level, what your chosen affix is going to be, because, you know, if it's an affix that you absolutely hate, you're going to notice real quick. And usually by like the third champion or elite, and you're like, man, every one of these guys has had Molten, then, you know, 90% of the time, every single mob, every single champion elite that you find in that rift is going to have Molten. So we've been through three things, right? We've been like, you know, picking the right tile set, you know, what is better there, picking the right mob, you know, configuration, you know, and also affixes. Right, if you have good mob, good tile set, but the affixes like Arcane, you know, is on every single champion elite, and you know that's what's going to happen in that rift, and you know you're going to have problems with it, probably should just re-roll that rift and try to find something that's not horrible. Because, you know, unless for the most part, all your resistances are be kind of even, unless you have a lot of secondaries. Obviously, I have more secondaries on this character, so I have a little bit higher Arcane, but sometimes just crazy stuff happens. Sometimes people die to poison more. Some people die more to, you know, desecrator or, you know, arcane. And if it's something that if you have a hard time personally, you know, avoiding certain affixes, you're going to save yourself a lot of time by just re-rolling and not dealing with it for every single mob or for every single champion elite. But anyway, you know, there's not a whole lot of science that goes into, like, you know, really solo pushing GRs. It's not so much about the configuration of the rift that you get. That's why people fish, because they try to like put their build in the best situation that it's capable for. For me personally, I like getting my character to the point where it doesn't matter what configuration I get on, let's say, GR90, that they can clear it. But if you are going to be a serious like leaderboard chaser and stuff like that, when you start getting really down to the numbers, you can only take your gear so far, and then you're going to have to put your character in a good situation in rifts with fishing to go really, really high, right? And as far as gear goes, for like solo pushing, all that stuff, that's going to go down to like having high-end augments. Make sure all of your equipped gems, legendary gems, are all as maxed out as they can be, and just start getting ancients and everything. Going to the mystic and getting that last % of cooldown on your shoulders, or whatever the case may be. Just really min-maxing everything. But if you've already min-maxed everything on your gear, then the only thing that you need to do is just worry about farming, literally just farming the actual rift itself. Then that's when you're really starting to push higher. But obviously, if you're going to start like a fishing session, you definitely need like 30 to 100 keystones just to actually kind of get. Don't waste your time, because if you only have 10, that's not going to last you very long. Because like anything in Diablo, RNG gods, they're going to screw you or they're going to help you, but you want to make sure you have the numbers on your side. But anyway, I feel like this video has run long enough. That's kind of my opinion on solo pushing and kind of what to do and tips and tricks and whatever. But if you like this video, if it helped you out, hit the like button. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. If you want to see more Diablo content, then hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.